Okay, so we're working on data sufficiency word problems. Basically, it won't require a lot of translation, not many questions, which will be from the usual word problems that you would see where you require translation of English to algebra. Uh, just one or two such questions, but mostly it is miscellaneous category like functions out here if you see, which is not covered under any topic like coordinate geometry or inequalities, and then various other types of questions covered from probably all the topics, so included into word problems. Okay, so there are 12 questions, and let's begin. Remember to solve the worksheet first. The link to the worksheet is given in the description of this video, and then look at this video for solutions. Yeah. Again, it's for advanced math learners or someone who's at a higher level in GMAT. Yeah. Right. First question: if the function f of x is 4x minus x squared, then find the value of f of g of x. Right. A is f of 3 is g of x. Okay. So what is f of 3 from here? Wherever you see x, you replace it with 3. Okay. So that is 3. 12 minus 9. So f of 3 is g of x. So that is g of x. So now we know that g of x is 3. Therefore, f of 3 you do. And the outcome will be 3 itself. Right? Because we just found out f of 3. Correct? We replace g of x with 3 because g of x is equal to 3 according to the first statement. Therefore, f of 3 we already found out is 3. So A answers, yeah, A answers. So B, C, and E is out. It's either D or A. Second one, g of x is 2 of x. We want to find the value, all right, not what is f of g of x, right? So the value with this g of x is 2 of x. If we replace this g of x with 2 of x, yeah, and then everything out here with x, we replace with 2 of x. So 4 into 2 of x, and then minus of, instead of x, we write 2 of x and the whole thing square. So we get 8x minus 4x square. It's not giving us any value, correct? It's not giving us any value, correct? So therefore, B doesn't answer, right? So D is out, only A is the answer. Got it? Okay, second one. A trajectory of a bird is traced from the top of a building to the top of a lamppost. It is a steep decline following a straight pathway. Find the distance the bird flew. All right, right. So A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, three-dimensional coordinates of the bird when perched on the lamppost are 10, 10, 10. So let's assume this is the lamppost, the straight line. Yeah, and the bird perched on it, yeah, has coordinates 10, 10, 10. Okay, right. So does A answer? No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell us anything other than the coordinates of the bird on the lamppost. So A is out, D is out. So we will have with B, C, and E. Second statement, the base of the building has three-dimensional coordinates 0, 0, 0 meters, and the three-dimensional coordinates of the bird perched on the top of the building are given by 0, 0, 40 meters. So let's draw a building. Yeah. So let's say this is our building out here. Correct. Yeah. And this is the bird. So 0, 0, 40. And this is 0, 0, 0. Right, now just to explain you three-dimensional coordinates, this is Z, this is X, and this is Y. Okay, so if we assume that this is the building, Z is the building, yeah, then this one we can say somewhere here, we can say this is 0, 0, and 40, X, Y, Z. Okay, X, Y, Z, right? And this is 10 on the X, 10 out here, right? And then the height Z, this 10, 10, 10 part, this height is 10. So the bird flew from here down here. It's a steep decline, right? So from here, I'll take a different color, blue. So from here, it goes here like that. So they are asking, what is the distance he flew? Correct? So if I imagine a right triangle like this, because this coordinate out here is 0, 0, 0, right? And that is 0, 0, 40. So it's on a straight line. This is on a straight line. So this part is 40 units. Yeah, correct? Yeah. And this one, 10, 10, 10, is somewhere here like that. So it's forming this triangle like this, not from the bottom. So this distance, is like the diagonal of a square. Diagonal of a square. This distance, this flat distance, like a diagonal of a square, where the dimensions are 10 and 10. All right. Yeah. So this will be 10 root 2. That is 40. This is 10 root 2. So we can find out using Pythagoras theorem that the distance square is equal to 40 square plus 10 root 2 square, which is equal to 1600 plus 200, which is equal to 1800. So we are getting an answer basically, root of 1800, right? So we can get root of 1800 using three-dimensional distance formula, which is like this: x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square plus z2 minus z1 the whole square. So out here, uh, x1 or x2 minus x1. So let's say this is x2, y2, z2, and this is x1, y1, z1. So x2 minus x1, the whole square is 100. 0 minus 10, the whole square is also 100. And 40 minus 10, the whole square is 900. So we get root of 1100 as the answer. So maybe I did some incorrect math out here. All right. I got 10 root 2. This is 30 because this is still here, it is 10. Nah? So I have to take 30. Correct. So 30 square is 900. So that is 1100. All right. Yeah. So this diagram, I'll just draw it again for you. So this is your Y, I mean Z. This is your X and this is your Y. Okay. Now this out here is 0, 0, 40. This out here is 0, 0, 0. This is 10 units. This is 10 units, right? And there is a lamppost out here at a height of 10, 10, 10. So the first two tens are X and Y like this. The third 10 is the height. This height is 10. So when this bird flew from here, I'll use a different color now. This bird flew from here till the top of the lamppost. It is at a distance, it is at a height of 10. So this is at a height of 40. So therefore, till here is 10. And then this portion which I've drawn, yeah, is this portion out here. This one, right? So that is acting like a diagonal of a square 10, 10. So therefore 10 root 2. And from 10 to 40, it is 30 out here. So I hope you understood the triangle, right triangle. And else otherwise use the distance formula for the three-dimensional coordinate geometry. Yeah, that'll give you the exact answer. So yes, both the uh, statements are required. B on its own will not answer because B just tells you about the building and not about the lamppost. And we want top of a lamppost and top of a building distance. So therefore, C is the answer. Third one. Joe deposited 40 every week to a savings account, which gave a simple annual rate of interest of 4%, whereas Derek deposited 40 every month into his savings account, which gave an annual rate of interest compounded quarterly. Find out who had more money in their savings account at the end of 12 months. Assume a week consists of 7 days and a year consists of 52 weeks for the sake of calculations. All right, so who had more money at the end of 12 months? Now, both Joe and Derek began savings from 1st January till 31st December of 22 and never withdrew any money from their accounts or had any surcharges or fees applied throughout the year. Now, when you read it this way, it seems that um, you have an answer, right? But there's a crucial information missing that what if they already had some money in their savings account? That is not stated out here. What is stated is that they never withdrew any money and had and did not have any surcharges or fees applied throughout the year, right? But we don't know whether they already had some money in that savings account. All right. Did they start with zero? Then only we can figure it out, right? Or if they have some money in it, then we need to know how much money they have. Then also we can figure it out. But we don't know that. Therefore, A is not sufficient. A and D is out. B, C, or E. Derek's savings account offered same annual rate of interest as Joe's savings account, right? So if Joe's is 4%, out here the annual rate of interest compounded quarterly, we now know it is 4%. Correct? Yeah. So yes, in A also we couldn't have solved it even though they had mentioned a zero because we did not know the 4% part. So that's another crucial information which was missing. Right. Anyway, coming back to B, and Derek's savings account offered the same annual rate of interest as Joe's saving account. And when they began saving, they had both zero in their savings account. And when they began saving, they had both zero in the saving account. Okay. So I believe there is another glitch out here, right? And when they began saving, they had both zero in the savings account. Now, Joe deposited 40 every week into a savings account. And so that began saving part, see, this one doesn't answer the question on its own, right? Although it tells you the 4%, but it doesn't tell us about the you know the surcharges or fees applied throughout the year, which is the minor thing. You can probably ignore that also to solve this question. But um, the part is that they never withdrew any money. Yeah, so that's important, right? That's not stated out here. So B on its own cannot solve. Now, together also, we wouldn't be able to solve it had this statement not been there. Both Joe and Derek began saving from first. All right. Because because and when they began saving, that began saving part, what if they were saving this from a long time back, right? And we are only asking about the 12 months. So let's say Joe and Derek have been saving since 2015, for example, right? So that is the crucial information again, because what they're asking is found out who had more money in the savings account at the end of 12 months, right? So Anyway, so both the information is required to solve the question, and it can be solved using both the statements because everything is clear when they began, which 12 months, yeah, beginning with zero, the 4%, etc. So as far as calculations are concerned, you don't need to calculate. You can just say it can be answered. Now let's do the calculation for the sake of understanding the question. Okay. So um, let's begin for Joe first. So Joe is $40 every week, right? So there are 52 weeks into 40, which is 52 for the 208, yeah, and zero. So that is the money, yeah, and gave a simple annual rate of interest of 4%, right? So into 4% and into 1 year, all right, yeah. So that is um, 10 and 10 goes. You got 208 into 4, which is 832, correct? So 83.2, this is the simple interest calculation which I just did. Okay? This is simple interest. So what she had at the end of 12 months would be 2080 plus 83.2. Okay, so that's just for the sake of calculation. We don't really need to know uh, who had more money. We have an answer that someone had more money. Okay, as far as we have the numbers in front of us. Now for um, Derek, yeah, okay. So he deposits 40 every month, right? So who had more money in the savings account at the end of 12 months? Now remember, it is compounded quarterly. All right. So every 3 months it is being calculated. So for first 3 months it is $120, right? And then there is 4% annual rate of interest. So out here, 4% is for the entire year, and there are 4 quarters. So we'll only take 1% and not 4%. Correct? Because 120 is for 1 quarter, whereas 4% is for 4 quarters, meaning the entire annual rate of interest is 4%, compounded quarterly. So for 1 quarter will be 1%. So 1% and 1 quarter like that gives you $1.2. All right. So $1.2 is what he's made after the first quarter, right? Second quarter, it is this 1.2 plus 120, so 121.2, again 1%. So this time it will be $1.212. Now the third quarter it will be 1.212 added to 121.2, right? So that is 214 and 122. So 122.412. And again there'll be 1% on it, correct? So it become 1.22412. Now we add 122.412 to this. So we'll only take up to 3 decimal places, 636 dot, this is 122, so 3, 123, and then finally the fourth quarter, 123.636. So whatever the case is, we know that it's not going beyond this, because clearly Joe is depositing 40 and this guy is depositing 40 every month. And since the rate of interest is 4% and compounded quarterly only for 12 months, we do have a rough idea if you're from banking that the 40 every week wins, right? So as you can see, Derek has made only around, if I do the math out here, 1.23, yeah, 6. Like I said, I'm only taking up to 3 decimal places, and you add 123 to it. So around 124, I'm sorry, 123.636. So around 124.86 something 872, right? So that was the calculation part. C is the answer. Right. Fourth one. A puzzle could only be solved if a honey badger traveled from the red circle, yeah, to the green circle as shown in the grid below. Find out how many different paths it can take to solve the puzzle. So the honey badger can only travel north or east on the black grid lines from the red circle until it reaches the green circle. So how many different paths it can take? So instead of wasting time doing 1, 2, 3 like that, remember it can go only north or east. So remember north, north, east, east, and east. So you basically arrange these 5 letters anyhow, right? You can go east, 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 and then north, north. So like that, it doesn't have to be north, north, and 3 east. It can be 3 east and then north, north. You'll reach this destination in green color. So the arrangement of 5 letters is 5 factorial, and repeating is 3 letters and 2 letters. So you end up getting 5 into 4 into 3 factorial, yeah, upon 3 factorial into 2. 2 factorial is 2. So 3 and 3 goes 20 by 2 is 10. So there are 10 different paths he could take. Now, if you want to, just for sake of uh, matching the answer, you can try this once, twice, thrice, and like that, and see if you can get a count of 10. Yeah. Okay. So A answers basically. So A answers. So B, C, and E is out. It's either D or A. The honey badger cannot travel south or west on the black grid lines to solve the puzzle. So it cannot travel south or west. This is not allowed. So if that is not allowed, and to solve the puzzle, one has to go from red to the green, then we know that the only way it can travel now is north or east, right? North or east. North or east is the only way it has to travel, right? If it can't go south or west, and the honey badger traveled from red circle. It says a puzzle can only be solved if a honey badger traveled from red circle to the green circle as shown in the grid below. Excuse me. So clearly, if it can't go south or west, then it will have to go north or east, right? It cannot jump directly to the green one. So B also answers the question because indirectly it is stating it goes north or east. So each alone answers. So A is out, D is the answer. Are you with me? So in case if you have any doubts or if you feel that maybe I am wrong or maybe there's something that you need to add for more clarity, you can just give me a feedback. Yeah. Um, if you're onto this channel, then you'll know my email ID as well. Yeah. Or you can simply post a comment in the video section. Thank you. Fifth question. Right. A theater consists of 5 rows and 16 columns of seating. If from 10 a.m. every hour, 5 people entered and 18 people left the theater, then how many seats were occupied by 2 p.m.? No one is allowed to occupy the theater without a seat. Okay. So you cannot just enter the theater and stand out there. That's not counted, right? So you have to occupy one of those seats available in the 5 rows and 16 columns, right? So we have to find out at 2 p.m. how many were seated or how many seats were occupied. A, B, C, D. Right. Let's start with A. Entry to the theater began at 10 a.m. when it was 3 quarters occupied. 3 quarters, 3 quarters occupied, right? And there are 80 seats. How? Because 5 into 16 is 80. So that means at 10 a.m. there were 60 seats occupied. So then we can find out by 2 p.m. what happened because every hour it says from 10 a.m. every hour 5 people entered and 18 people left. So there is a reduction of 13 every hour. 18 people left, right? All right. So after subtracting 13, you have 47. Then 12 p.m. again 13 left because every hour 5 entered, 18 left. So again you subtract 13 from 47 and you have 34. 1 p.m. again subtract 13. 13 from 34 is 21. And at 2 p.m. again subtract 13 from 21 and you got 8. Got it? Yeah. In other words, 52 from 60, if you subtract, yeah, you get 8. So how many seats were occupied by 2 p.m.? 8 were occupied. Now by 12 p.m. the theater was 42.5% occupied. So once again, remember, it's either A or D, right? A answers. So by 12 p.m. the theater was 42.5% occupied. So 42.5% occupied is 42.5% of 80 because there are 80 seats, right? So 24s are 25s are 5 goes into this 8 times 40 and 5 are 25. Now 8.5 into 4 is 34. And that is what at 12 p.m. And 12 p.m. we have 34 out here. So then we can use this reference and move down and we'll get our answer. So again, A also answers. So therefore D is the answer. The B also answers. Therefore D is the answer. Both A and B individually can answer the question, right? Okay, sixth one. A structure consists of 6 sides, all equal in length, joined together to form a solid polygon base. Each side had a wall all equal in height. Should be has a wall, not had a wall. So each side has a wall all equal in height. Find the total volume enclosed within the walls if the top and bottom of the structure had the same solid polygon base. So basically, it seems it's a hexagonal structure. Yeah. So with a hexagonal base and hexagonal top. Yeah. Right. So let me see if I've got a hexagon. None. So I'll use this. And they are all equal in length. Right. So like that, you have a structure. Okay. And we have to find the volume inside. All right. So that's the question. So A, B, C, D. Okay. The thickness of the solid walls and the polygon base is negligible. So these walls, they're saying it's negligible, meaning they're not like thick. They're not like thick like this because the thickness would change the volume inside, right? Correct. This portion is all solid. So the volume inside is what they're asking, right? Find the total volume enclosed within the walls. Correct. So the thickness is negligible. So that's an important information, but yet we cannot find the volume because we don't have any numbers in front of us. So A doesn't answer, D doesn't answer, either B, C, or E. But that's a crucial information. Yeah. So there is no thickness basically. That's what it's saying. There's no thickness. All right. There's no thickness. Anyway. Second one, the side length of the solid polygon base is 6 meters. So this is 6 meters. And the height of the solid walls is 10 meters. All right. So now we can find out because we know that all the sides are 6 meters, right? So we can find out the answer, right? We can find out the area of this base and we can get to the answer because volume is always base area into height, correct? Right? But then B on its own, is it solving the question? The side length of the solid polygon base is 6 meters and the height of the solid walls is 10 meters, right? and we know that there are 6 sides all equal, right? Yeah. So this information, thickness of the solid walls and the polygon base is negligible. So it seems that the second statement actually answers, but it does not really answer. So when we take the thickness part into consideration, then we do get an answer, correct? Yeah. So taking both together, does it answer? It seems it answers, right? But that's a trap. What is a trap? The trap is that this one looks equiangular as well, but it's not really stating whether it's equiangular, meaning it's not stating it's a regular polygon. We don't know that it's a regular polygon. We don't know that. So very well, this could be like this also, all equal, side lengths of 6 meters, like that. Are you with me? 6, 6, 6, 6. And you could have very well have a, you know, a structure like this. Are you with me, guys? Something like this. I'm bad at this drawing part, but yeah. Um, anyway, are you getting the picture, guys? So it could be very well like this. Yeah. Anyway, so we don't know what is the angle, and since we don't know the angle, the base area could change. It could be a regular one. It could be like this, correct? Yeah. It could have any other angle also. So the base area keeps changing because we don't know the angle between the two side lengths. Therefore, C also doesn't answer. E is the answer. Okay, very important. A trap, a very easy, um, looks easy that even B can answer, but then you think about the thickness. And then when you think about thickness, you realize that it could be the angle part also. The angle part you might just miss out if you get carried away with the solving. So you gotta be neutral, yeah, and not get carried away just because you're getting close to the answer, just because you think the question is solvable, all right? So E is the answer. Seventh one. Product of the first 3 consecutive terms of a sequence in arithmetic progression is equal to the sum of the first 3 consecutive terms of a sequence in geometric progression. All right. So the product of a sequence in arithmetic progression is equal to the sum of the first 3 consecutive terms of a sequence in geometric progression. So what is the product of the first 3 consecutive terms in arithmetic progression if the first term of both sequences is identical? Right. So AP means there's a constant difference between any two successive terms, right? And GP means there's a constant multiplier, right? Which we call the ratio. Okay. And since the first term is the same, this is what we can imagine, all right? Now we have to, we know that the product of this is equal to the sum of this, right? So now we'll see if we can get to the product. The first statement says the constant ratio of the sequence in geometric progression is 4, right? So R is 4, so we can rewrite this second one as x into, I'm sorry, x, 4x and 16x. That's how it goes, right? But we don't know the difference, right? We don't know the difference. So there are two unknowns, x and d, correct? X and d. So A doesn't answer. A doesn't answer. D doesn't answer. It's B, C, or E. Second one, the constant difference of the sequence in arithmetic progression is 4. So the constant difference is 4. So we know this is the case, correct? But we don't know this part from the second statement, right? So again, we have two unknowns, R and X, correct? Now when we take both together, yes, we'll take the product of this entire thing and we'll say this is equal to the sum of this entire thing. Make sense? Yeah. And when we solve this, what we get is x square plus 4x into x plus 8 is equal to 5x plus 16x plus 20. 16x is 21x. So we get this and we know that we can solve for x and we'll get the answer. Correct? Yeah. Once we get x, then we can find out the product. We can multiply this whole thing and get the answer. This whole thing and get the answer. Right? Correct? So again, it's a trap question. It seems you get the answer, but no, you don't get the answer. You know why? Because you're getting two different products. Let's solve this and show it to you. So x square into x is x cube. X square into 8 is 8x square. 4x into x is 4x square. 4x into 8 is 32x, which is equal to 21x. So now we got x cube, 8x and 32x is 40x. Yeah, minus 21x plus 4x square, right, is equal to 0. So we can simplify this further. X cube plus 19x, right, plus 4x square is equal to 0. Hang on a minute, guys. I'm just checking my calculation. Okay, right. Hmm. Okay, so this is what we've got. Yeah. I yet need to double check my calculation because I remember having a different answer. Hang on. Ah, 8x squared, right? Here's the problem. Okay, x square into x is x cube, x square into 8 is 8x square. And then 4x into x is 4x square. And then 4x into 8 is 32x, which is equal to 21x. So x cube plus 12x square. And then 32 minus 21 is 11x is equal to 0. Now we can further simplify this by dividing x on both the sides. So when we divide x on both sides, we get this. And then finally, we get a simple quadratic equation. 11 ones are 11, right? That will add up to 12 and multiply to 11. And we simply change the sign. And so these are the values of x we get. And since these are the values of x we get, yeah, we can begin with minus 11. Yeah, and we add 4 to it. So out here, I'll take minus 1 and solve it. Out here, we'll take minus 11 and solve it. So minus 11, and then minus 11 plus 4 is minus 7. Minus 7 plus 4 is minus 3. And the product of this is 21 into 11, negative 231. Now, is it the sum of this? So x is negative 11, negative 44, and negative 176, because 44s are 160, 4s are 60. So now this is negative 55. So yeah, it does match. So we have a product of negative 231, and if we start with this one, then we have negative 1 plus 4, which is 3, and 3 plus 4 is 7, and so the sum is, the product is negative 21, and out here it would be minus 1, and then into 4, negative 4, and then into 4 again, so negative 16, and it gives you negative 21. So therefore what we are getting is two products. What is the product of the first three consecutive terms? It could either be negative 231 or negative 21. So this would have been trapped had you not solved it. Very interesting question, right? E. Both together gives you two different products. Classic trap question. And 90% would fail out here because they wouldn't solve all of this to get to the answer. They won't waste time. Yes. And there's no way to figure out that you'll probably get two different answers. All right. I mean, other than solving it. Okay. Eighth one. So this is the one which I was speaking to you about, the typical word problem question where there's a translation happening. Yeah. Ashley is 7 years younger than Judy. Yeah. So if I subtract 7 from Judy, it will be equal to Ashley. And Ashley is 14 years older than Amir. So if I add 14 to Amir, then Amir's will be equal to Ashley, right? Because Ashley is 14 years older than Amir. So only way they can equate is when you add 14 to Amir and subtract 7 from Judy. Yeah. Then what is Ashley's age? So A is what we need to find out. Statement A. 10 years ago, the sum of the ages was equal to 62. So 10 years ago, right, the sum of the ages, so Ashley, right, 10 years ago would be A minus 10 years old, right? Yeah, 10 years ago. Okay. Judy would be J minus 10, and Amir would be A minus 10, and if you add them all up, this is equal to 62. So now to find Ashley's age, we write down everything in terms of A. So A minus 10 for Ashley. Judy is A plus 7. So J is equal to A plus 7. So A plus 7 minus 10. And then Amir is A minus 14. Yeah. A minus 14 minus 10. That is 62. So we got A, and A, three A's. And we got minus 10, minus 10, and minus 10, minus 30. And then we got plus 7 and minus 14, minus 7 is equal to 62. So 3A is equal to 62 plus 37, which is equal to 99. So A is equal to 33. We got the answer using A alone. So B, C, and E is out. So we can now see if delta gives us B gives us the answer. After 16 years, Ashley would remain to be 7 years younger than Judy and 14 years older than Amir. Now, it seems confusing, but it's very simple. All right. Take take for example, if you have a brother or sister, yeah, and there's an age gap of 10 years between the two of you, for example, right? So after 16 years, do you think the age gap would reduce or increase? No, nah. So that is the logic out here with B. It's just there to confuse you. It doesn't really answer the question. So it's only A. Only A answers the question, right? Yeah. All right. Moving on. Ninth one. So this is a Venn diagram question, or you can use the grid method. So let's see if you can solve it. Yeah. Right. Hang on. Right. So what we have now is a Venn diagram question or a grid question. Yeah. Let me draw another one for the second one. I'll draw two grids. Okay. We first use the Venn diagrams and then the grid. Okay. Community club has 360 members. Yeah. Now 80 like jogging. 100 like walking. And rest like some other activity but not jogging or walking. So clearly, there are some members out of the 360 who are outside the circles. Yeah. How many of the community members like both jogging and walking? So this is X what we need to find out. A, B, C, D, E. There are total 208 members who neither like to jog nor like to walk. So this is 208, right? So whatever is inside these circles is going to be 360 minus of 208, which is equal to 152. So 152 are within the circles, right? So now you can use the formula that either use the formula, you can use it this way, that this region 100 minus x is only walking, x is both, and 80 minus x is only jogging. So if you add them all up, it should be equal to 152, which is 80 minus x plus 100 minus x, right? So this x and x goes. We have 152 equal to 180 minus x. 152 is equal to 180 minus x, and therefore x is 28. So we get, therefore, x is 28. We get the answer. A answers, so B, C, E is out, is either A or D. Now, using the grid method, we could say people who jog, people who do not jog, people who walk, people who do not walk. Total is 360. Yeah. This is what we need to find out, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll just put it in red. This is what we need to find. Yeah. Right. So we know that 80 like jogging. So this is the total for 80. So clearly 280 do not like jogging. And then we know 100 like walking. And so this one out here is 260. And we know 208 is neither jogging nor walking. So therefore this 280, 208, this is 72. If this is 72 and 100, we get 28. So that's how we get the answer. And then finally, we just need to make sure that, everything's adding up, the totals. So it does make sense, right? Yeah. So yeah, using grid also we get an answer. So now, second question, second statement, exactly 72 community members like walking only. So this is again jogging, 80, 100 is walking, right? And we don't know. Yeah. X is what we need to find out. So 72 like walking only. So that is this region. Yeah. This is 72. And if this whole circle is 100, this is 28, and we get the answer directly. We don't even need to use any other calculation out here, right? So again, if you were to use the grid, people who like jogging, not jogging, walking, not walking, yeah, 360, 80 total out here, 280 out here, 100 out here, 260 out here, and 72 like walking only. So walking only but not jogging is, this is 72. So we get the answer out here also again, 28. So each alone answers, yeah. So therefore D is the answer. Okay. 10th question. So this happens to be the, toughest question of the lot. So let's see why it's the toughest one. A shopkeeper sold each toy for a retail price of $50. Yeah. However, during any festival, the shopkeeper would give a discount of 20% on the retail price of each toy. So without festival, yeah, and with festival. Okay. What is the selling price without festival? $50. And what is the selling price with festival, which is with the discount? It is $40. Why $40? Because there is 20% discount. 10% is 5, 20% is 10. So 10 subtracted from 50, that's his selling price. Find out what is the shopkeeper's profit on each toy during a festival. All right, A, B, C, D, E. During festivals, the shopkeeper would make more sales, hence make bulk purchases, which would reduce the cost of each toy by $5. So if we assume that the cost price, yeah, is X without festival, and during festival it would reduce by $5, right? Because he's making bulk purchases. But with that information, we don't know what is the shopkeeper's profit on each toy during a festival, right? Because X is not known. Okay, right. So therefore, A doesn't answer, B doesn't answer, so the B, C, or E. Second statement, shopkeeper's profit percentage is the same with or without festival. So now we'll, for the time being, hide this part, yeah. And this is what we know from the information, that the profit percentage is the same. So when profit percentage is the same, profit is calculated on the cost price, right? So profit percentage is the same, which means that selling price minus cost price upon the cost price into 100% is the same for both of them. But then see, clearly we don't have the cost price, right? So B alone also doesn't answer. Now when we take both statements together, right? When we take both statements together, we know that the profit percent is profit upon cost price into 100. And out here, it would be profit is for selling price minus cost price, yeah, upon cost price. Now they're saying this into 100 and this into 100 is the same. So I'm not complicating the calculation. I'm simply equating these two, right? If I solve this, right, if I solve these two equations, that is, 50 minus x upon x is equal to 40 minus x plus 5 is 45 minus x upon x minus 5. Now, why this is the toughest one is because no one would think about solving it as not. I'm not saying like no one will, but if I can, then there are many other people who can. But all I'm saying is that under time pressure, yeah, it's difficult to figure it out without calculation, and very few would be able to get to the point where there's this thinking that let the cost price be X and move on from there. Yeah. So it does give you an answer. When you take both statements together, you do get an answer, right? B on its own is not answering, obviously. But when you take both together, you get an equation to solve, but you have to solve it. Yeah. So you get 50 minus X into x minus 5 is equal to x into 45 minus x, right? Solve this and you get 50x, and then you get minus 250, and then you get minus x squared. I'm using the FOIL method for this expansion, yeah? Okay, and then you get plus 5x, yeah? Which is equal to 45x and minus x squared. So clearly minus x squared cancels. It just becomes a linear equation to solve, right? So you got 50x, 55x minus 45x is equal to 250. Yeah. So therefore you get 10x is equal to 250. So x is 25. And now we plug in the value of x out here as 25. And we saw if x is 25, 50 minus 25 upon 25. Yeah. They're asking find out what is the shopkeeper's profit on each toy during a festival. So this is just to show you that without festival we got 100%. Yeah. And out here, if x is 25, you get 20, 20, and 40 minus 20 upon 20 is 20 upon 20. So we just showed that the profit percentage is the same. Yeah. And through that, we got to know what is the profit on each toy during a festival. So during a festival, the profit is $20. That's the answer. Yeah. Okay. C. C is the answer, both together. All right. Question 11. Last two questions, and then we're done. Okay. So this is about ratios. So this question I've introduced to just to make sure that you read the question carefully. If you don't read it, then you might get an E as the answer. So we have Gary, Sam, and Harry share a house whose monthly rent is $5,000 and utilities costing $1,000 per month. Yeah, right. And each have a personal monthly expense in the ratio of 4:5:2. This is the personal expense. What is Simon's total monthly expense? Right. All right. And there are no other monthly expenses for all three. So just make sure that there's no other expenses for each of them. Yeah. So A, B, C, D, E. All three equally share the monthly house rent and gas utilities cost per month. So the monthly rent is 5,000, gas and utilities is 1,000. So they equally share. So we know that all of them are paying 2,000 from their pocket, right? That's a total for house rent and utilities. Yeah. Now, does it answer this 4:5:2 part? No, it doesn't, right? Yeah. So A is out, D is out. It's either B, C, or E. Okay. Harry's personal monthly expense is twice the total cost of gas and utilities per month. So now we know that the personal expense of Harry, yeah, is 2,000 because it is twice gas and utilities, right? Now, this is the ratio that we have, right? And if 2,000 is 2, then clearly 5,000 is 5, and clearly 4,000 is 4, correct? Yes? But then we don't know the part wherein how is the monthly house rent and the gas and utilities distributed, yeah? Is it equally shared? Is it in some ratio? We don't know that part from statement B alone. So B is also out. But when we take them together, we do have Simon's monthly expenses $7,000. Make sense? Yeah. So therefore, C is the answer. 12th one. Any fault in a product leads to its rejection, wherein the fault is fixed, after the rejection and supplied to retail channels for sales. If not fixed, then entirely recycled. All right. If not fixed, then entirely recycled. Now, if the probability of such fixes is 95% successful, right, then what is the probability that a product is recycled? Now, for a product to be recycled, it first needs to be rejected. Yeah. And second, does not get fixed, right? Not get fixed. So we know this part is 95%. Yeah. But not fixed is 5%, right? If 95% is successful, then that means it's getting fixed, right? So not fixed is 5%. All right. So this is arrow. So first it needs to get rejected. Yeah. And then this is for the recycle part. For recycle, this needs to happen, rejected and then not get fixed, right? Correct. So let's look at each statement. The probability of a fault in a product is about 2%. So this fault, yeah, is 2%. And if it is a fault, then it's getting rejected, right? So that is 2%. So this information and this information gives me the probability that the product is recycled, correct? Yeah. So 2% into 5% is the answer, which is equal to 10 over the percents 100 and 100. So 10,000. So the probability is 0.001. Yeah. Okay. Or 1 out of 1,000. Or you could also say this is 0.1% is the probability in percentage form. So A answers. B, C, and E is out. So either D or A. Second one, out of every 1,000 products, 200 are rejected. Correct? So 200 are rejected, right? And then out of those 200 which are rejected, 5%, yeah, 5% is the probability that the fault is not fixed, right? So these 200 go into the category of getting fixed. If it's not fixed, then it is recycled. So what percent is not fixed? 5%, because that is the, unsuccessful part. Yeah. So 5% of 200 is 5 upon 100 into 200. That is 10. And 10 out of a total of 10,000, right? Which again brings you back to this and then this and then this. So you end up getting the same answer. So each alone gives you the answer. Therefore, D is the answer. Okay, D is the answer. And with that, we are done with this video. All right. So now only one video remains, that is data interpretation. Yeah. So probably graphs, tables. Yeah. And it'll take time, obviously, but I'll work on it. And that'll be the final video for this particular data sufficiency channel. Right. Thank you very much.